Welcome back to CIA Declassified. For years, the program was earthbound, tactical, and discreet, but in 1984 the game changed. We leave the familiar atmosphere of Earth for a story so monumental it was almost immediately partitioned into one of the highest classification tiers. We open the file on the one target that remains an intelligence paradox, the Martian pyramid file. The decision to target Mars was the culmination of years of successful terrestrial operations. The question was no longer about security, it was about the physics of consciousness. Could a human mind truly achieve non local perception across astronomical distances? The target was the Cydonia region of Mars, defined only by cold astronomical coordinates intended to starve the viewer of any visual cues or preconceptions. The viewer's profile, the operative selected, designated S19, was chosen specifically for their psychological profile. Their file, DIA-CYPE007, notes an almost clinical level of emotional detachment. Subject S19 exhibits exceptional capacity for objective reporting in the face of profound experimental anomalies. Sensory input is processed as data, not as an event, critical for deep space targets, end quote. The screening was exhaustive, including a compulsory 72-hour sensory deprivation period prior to the session to prevent external contamination. The psychic signature. The session log notes the difficulty of acquisition. Terrestrial targets offer a warm, chaotic, organic signature. Mars, however, was cold, vast, and silent. The initial entry logged at T08 minutes reflects this difficulty. Quote, target signature is vast, low energy, and possesses an extreme quality of geological antiquity, feeling of tremendous stillness, time feels compressed, end quote. This signature complexity suggested not just a distance, but a profound temporal separation from human experience. The session, meticulously recorded in CIA STGT-84, suddenly transitioned from geology to geometry. The viewer, S19, began reporting on artificial structures with unnerving precision. Architectural detail. The focus immediately fell on a massive five-sided structure, the Great Pyramid. The viewer provided not just descriptive data, but proportional data. Log entry T plus 45. Quote, apex is tourniqueted, not pointed. Base width to current visible height ratio is approximately 5.8 to 1. External surfaces are massive, smooth, and heavily eroded, but the fundamental angles are perfect. Non-metallic appears to be an engineered composite stone. End quote. This was not an approximation, it was an architectural blueprint of an interior on another world. The Cydonia grid. The drawings generated are perhaps the most compelling evidence. They depict not a single pyramid, but a complex coordinated network, a structured grid of walls and low, perfectly circular domes, all aligned with astonishing accuracy relative to the main structure. The grid itself covered an area estimated to be 15 square kilometers. The sheer scale argued against a natural formation. Directed by the project lead, the viewer was instructed to track the source of a constant low-frequency pressure felt emanating from the site. This took the session directly beneath the surface. What was found was an intact subterranean city. The deep infrastructure. S19 mapped large pressurized halls linked by pressurized transport conduits. The atmosphere in these lower levels was reported as thick, synthetic, and cold, suggesting an active life support system in a state of deep maintenance. The crystalline conduits. The viewer focused on the transfer of power. They reported walls lined not with wires but with massive non-terrestrial crystal formations acting as conduits. Log entry T plus 92, quote, energy flow was visible, a pulse of blue-white light inside the walls. These are data channels and power conduits simultaneously. The material is crystalline, structured for efficiency. It feels cold, like frozen information, end quote. This was a description of technology far beyond 1984 Earth standards. The life form report. Stasis. S19 located the entities responsible for this infrastructure. They were not active, but suspended. The beings were tall, thin, and in a state the viewer described as, quote, profound intentional desiccation, end quote. A summary statement, later highly scrutinized, reads, quote, "The inhabitants are in stasis, waiting. They are technologically preserved, not dead. Their goal is environmental stabilization before reemergence. Time is meaningless to them," end quote. As the viewer approached the center of the Great Pyramid, the sensory input intensified, inducing the temporal anomaly. S19 was suddenly overwhelmed by the sense of deep time, millions of years passing in a moment. The void in the beacon. The internal structure of the pyramid was described as a massive shell, mostly hollow, protecting a singular central artifact. This artifact was a colossal column of intense, coherent, non-thermal light. It wasn't a battery, it was a generating and transmission device. Log entry T+115, quote, "The light is the purpose. It is a beacon. It is not powering the city. It is speaking to a remote location. The feeling is of a constant low-rate broadcast, like a repeating distress signal," end quote. This introduced the most unsettling possibility. The complex was not just a ruin, but a dormant system awaiting a response. Post-session, the data was immediately handed to external analysts. Dr. Helen Vance, a leading planetary geologist consulted by the program, led the most robust counter-argument. The geological contamination theory, the Yardang hypothesis. Dr. Vance argued the viewer's data perfectly matched natural geological processes found on Earth and Mars. She pointed to Yardang's streamlined, wind-eroded ridges in arid environments. Vance's official critique, documented in CIA AR404B advisory report, argued, quote, "The straight lines and trunks reported by S19 are classic erosional remnants of parallel fault lines. The five-sided symmetry is an illusion created by lightning angles and the viewer's subconscious need to structure chaos," end quote. This provided the scientific basis to dismiss the findings entirely. The intelligence response. However, the program managers noted that S19's data included details like the subterranean crystal conduits that Vance could not explain with geology. The program was forced to conduct a cross-target verification. A second, entirely separate session, utilizing viewer V2 was given only the coordinates and no context, was conducted a week later. V2's data independently confirmed the key geometric structures, the presence of the vast tunnels, and most critically, the central energy source in the pyramid, the black lines. This confirmation elevated the threat assessment and led to the extreme heavy redaction we see today. The first massive block of black ink follows the combined description of the energy core's function. The deleted text referenced in internal memos addressed the, quote, "intentional observation," end quote, hypothesis, the idea that the beacon might also be passively gathering and storing data about its surroundings, including potentially Earth. The transfer technology redaction. The most notorious blackout is linked to redaction code STGT84TT11A. After V2 confirmed S19's concept of instantaneous movement, this entire section was classified under weaponry and strategic force projection. It's highly probable this section detailed a non-terrestrial form of travel or communication that, if understood, would shatter all current military doctrines. The final analyst's sign-off note on the original file is a terrifying caution. It reads, quote, "Target is confirmed to be non-natural, artificial, and possessing capabilities beyond current global understanding. No further targeting is recommended," end quote. The Martian pyramid file remains open, unsolved, and haunting. It was either the ultimate proof of psychic contamination or the ultimate confirmation that the deepest secrets of the universe were revealed not by telescope, but by a human mind. Next time, we come back down to Earth for a story of high-stakes deception and a shocking double-cross. We open the file on the mole in the vault, the effort to root out a senior intelligence analyst who was passing highly sensitive remote viewing data to a rival foreign power. The target, an encrypted time-locked safe deposit box in Zurich. We detail how the remote viewing team had to acquire the exact combination and internal schematic of the vault, not to steal the documents, but to photograph them psychically before the mole could access them. In the meantime, look up, but don't forget to look within. I'll see you in the archives.